Hi everyone. I hope everyone is doing wonderful. Today we are going to solve this particular problem from LeetCode, which is basically is same tree. So we are given a function which we have to complete, and then that function basically checks if uh, the two trees that are given are same or not. So the condition to meet for a tree to be same, for both of the trees to be same, are two things. Basically, the structure of the tree has to be same, and then the node values should be same. What I mean by structure, well, the structure means if I have a value 1 here, the value should not go to 1 here. What I'm saying is if 1 is here, 1 has to be there on the other side too. So basically the structure should match. And also you can refer to that as if you traverse the tree with either pre-order traversal, in order traversal, or post order traversal, all of these should give you the same order in both of the trees when you do that. So that is one condition, right? Structure same and values also should be the same. So how are you going to check that? Well, it's pretty simple. The one I just mentioned you, which were basically pre-order traversal, another was in order traversal, and then third one is post order traversal. If you know either of these, basically you should already know all of these, but if you don't know, then you can check out my previous videos to learn about pre-order, in-order, and post-order traversal. If you even don't watch those, I will simply explain the concepts in here. So the pre-order traversal basically says that go to every node of the tree and then check or print that and then call its left subtree, and then print that, call its left subtree, call it left subtree until you find the null value, and then if you find the null value, return it and then call your right subtree, right? That's how the pre-order traversal work. Basically it is saying that print my root first and then only go to left and then go to right. That's the basic idea of the order traversal, and you should already know that, and I'm assuming that you already know this. Okay, so we are given, in this case we are given two trees, which is one is p, basically two roots are given, one is p and then one is q. Now we're gonna have to compare if both of these trees are same or not. Well, we will check in our function. Let's say this is our function. I'm gonna simply write that here. Let's say this is our func, and then let's say p and q is given. So that's our function. I'm gonna complete all of the code in here. We'll simply check if this root and this root are equal or not, right? Or we can say if these roots are not equal, then we will simply return false. So we'll check here. Initially, we will check if p's value is not equal to q's value, then I will say return false. This arrow will not be used in code. This is just to show that we will return false in here. Now, what if you don't have to return false? Because our condition matches here. What I'm saying is 1 and 1 is same, right? So this condition won't execute. What happens if that condition doesn't execute? Well, before writing the code, I'm quickly showing you one thing here. When 1 and 1 matches, we will call the same function and then call it for the first tree's left value, which is going to be 2, and then the second parameter is going to be second tree's left value. Basically what I'm trying to say is as soon as we compare 1 and 1, we will call the function to compare 2 and 2, basically the left subtree, right? We are doing pre-order traversal, so we will simply say we will simply call the function again, and that's going to be function, and then we will pass p's left value and then q's left value. That's it. And you, if you remember, you also had right call for a pre-order traversal. So that's also, let me write that down here and then I will explain you what does that mean. P is right and then q is right. Now for a tree to be same, all of these branches on its left side and then the right side and then the right side should match. So you have a logical operator which is called AND operator, which basically checks if a m% b equals what? True. If both of these values are true, then it will simply give you true, right? Then that's it. That's all the code you need. In this case, you can simply write m% in here, and then after you will return from here. Sorry about that. You will simply return from here. What does this mean? Well, we will call our function for the left subtrees. If it gives us true, then we will simply or call for our right subtrees true, 3 and 3, right? If both of that matches, that's why m% is here. That's why the m% is a condition checking if both of those matches, then I will also return true from there. So that's the basically idea. Well, that is true, but what happens if you have a tree like this? Let me draw it here. Let's say you had a tree like this, which is 1 2, and then let's say you had a tree like this, which is 1 2. So these basically are two different trees where you have null on this side and null on this side. Now, initially you will check if 1 and 1 are equal or not, right? It's equal, but you will call the function to check if your left subtrees node are equal or not. In this case, it is not true, right? It is not true if both of these are not true, and in this case, that's the basically your base case. That means you have to return false. But what if you had something like this: 1 2 3, and then 1 2, basically the same example. When you reach here, you will call again for your null, and then call again for your null. So if in both of these trees, if your left subtree also has a null, and then the right subtree's left value is also null, that means you are comparing the same value, right? What happens if you compare null and null? Well, it has to return you true, right? Because null and null are equal. So that's another base case. So in your function, you will complete it like this. If p equal to null, and if your key equal to null, then you will return true here. Well, it got messy. I will complete this code in the LeetCode and then show you what I was trying to say. Okay, basically I think you already got the idea. Let's jump over to the LeetCode to solve this. Okay, what was the problem actually? It's right here, same tree. So if you see it here, we have given two trees, right? So, and also we have given a boolean is same tree function, and then if you see it here, we have given p and then q, basically two nodes. We don't see anything. We will simply check if our p's value is not equal to our q's value, then that means we have to return false because those doesn't match. If that doesn't match, then we'll simply return false here. As soon as we do that, we can call our function again for the left values of both the trees and then check if that matches or not. If that matches, we will call the function again for our right part and then use right part too. And then we have to write m% here because both of those should match in order to check if it's same or not, and then we'll return it from here. As soon as you do that, you have to also check for base conditions. What I was saying in here is what happens if you would have null on both of the subtree, right? If you have null on both of the subtree, then that means you have to return true from there. So you will say if p equal to null, and if q equal to null, then you will return true. But if your p is null or your key equal to null, that means you will return false here. Well, it is basically this example. uh Let me show you the example. I think I got, okay, I cannot skip it. Well, basically let's see this example right here. So when you call this function, your left subtree's value is going to be 2, and then from here it's going to be null, right? This doesn't match because P is 2, Q is null. If this doesn't match, it doesn't return anything. This will go here. Since P is null here, P is null, no, P is 2, right? Q is null. Since P is 2, Q is null, one condition satisfies. As soon as one condition satisfies, this return false. And that's what we need, right? If P is 2, Q is null, then our tree is not same. That's why we are returning false from there. So that's basically the idea. Oh, damn. Where is my code? I think I had written some code here. I'll write it again. I think I messed it up. And then we'll check if P's value is not equal to Q's value, then we'll simply do return false. If not, then we'll call the each same tree again with our P's left value and then Q's left value, and then call it again for the right tree or the right subtree. If this matches, it will simply return true. Let's run the code. Yep, everything has been successfully ran. Now let's submit it if it submits or not. All right, everything has been successfully submitted and it beats 900% of the code. So I hope you understood the problem. If not, I would suggest you all to rewind the video and watch it 1 or 2 times and then try it on in this example. If you basically know pre-order traversal, you already know this problem. Uh, and then I will be uploading more of the videos and explanations soon. Thank you so much for watching the video. Bye bye.